Ezekiel chapter 21. And we left off last week with like verse 13, and we're down in verse 14. And actually, one thing about Ezekiel chapter 21, it is divided into like 3 words of prophecy. Okay? Verse 1 down through verse 7 are the first word. And the word of the Lord came unto me saying, okay? It's mainly, this is really bad news chapter here, because it is a sword that's a righteous sword going forth, and behold, I will set against thee, draw forth my sword. So that's in the first word of prophecy, in verses 1 through 7. Second word in verse 8. Again, the word of the Lord came unto me saying, and that goes down through verse 17. Okay? So, and last week in the second word of prophecy, we find out a sword. Son of man, prophesy and say, thus saith the Lord, say a sword. A sword is sharpened and also furbished. So it's sharpened and it's shined up. Furbished means it's polished. It's polished up so it shines in the sun. It's sharpened to make a sore slaughter. In verse 10. Furbished, that it may glitter. Okay, and then this question here in verse 10: should we then make mirth? Should we be happy about this? No. This sword represents, if you will, the Babylonian Empire and Nebuchadnezzar. Okay, and it says it. In verse 10, it contemneth, or it despises. It despises. It has contempt for, if you will. Let's see. Where are we? The rod of my son as every tree. The rod of my son, we found out last week, refers to if you will, the royal scepter of Judah. Okay, the tribe of Judah, and this is their royal scepter, and of course this is what's left over now at the time of Nebuchadnezzar is Judah and Benjamin. But the sword despises it has contempt for the scepter of Judah. Okay? So. And this, again, this is a slaughtering sword. It's made for slaughter. And should you be happy about it? Remember, Ezekiel is saying this, prophesying all this. And we're down to 3 years before Nebuchadnezzar moves in. Okay? So it's given to be furbished, sword is sharpened, and give it into the hand of the slayer. Okay. And instead of having mirth, as it said, should we then make mirth? No. Cry and howl, Son of man, in verse 12. For it shall be upon my people. It shall be upon all the princes of Israel. Terrors by reason of the sword shall be upon my people. Okay. And God instructs Ezekiel to in verse 12 to smite thyself upon thy thigh. This is a kind of a show of mourning, if you will, one of those shows of mourning, smiting yourself on your thigh, and it's a trial. And what if the sword contemn even the rod? What does it matter if the sword, this slaughtering sword, okay, despises this scepter of Judah? It shall be no more, saith the Lord God. Yeah. Little, because it is a trial, okay? Trials don't last forever. Verse 13 is just a little tiny itty bitty speck, ray of light, hope, if you will, for the children of Israel. Because it is a trial, it's only going to last a short time. Well, in the case of Israel right now, it's going to last 70 years. But the sword, it shall be no more. The sword shall be no more, saith the Lord God. Okay. And now we come down to verse 14, where we kind of left off last week, or start this week. Thou therefore, son of man, prophesy, and smite thine hands together. Okay? This is, clap your hands together. It's a kind of a, if you will, with the way the verse is worded here, it's kind of a call to action, maybe, possibly, okay? And let the sword be doubled the third time. Okay? Increase, if you will, the power of the sword. The sword gets doubled the third time. 3 times doubled, okay, to express its violence and force. This is an expression of violence and force, okay? Doubled the third time, the sword of the slain. It is the sword of the great men that are slain, which entereth into their privy chambers. Okay? It's this sword, the great men, okay? Sword of the great men, if you will, since this is the sword of Nebuchadnezzar, his great men, which entereth into their privy chambers, their private places. There's no escape. You don't have a safe room in your house because the sword will find you. Okay? And he was instructed in verse 2 of chapter 21, set thy face toward Jerusalem. He's instructed to preach toward Jerusalem, and the folks there in Jerusalem, the princes who think they are safe in Jerusalem, who really aren't, okay, says, I have set the point of the sword against all their gates. Okay? All their gates, their privy chambers, all their gates, this sword of slaughter. Remember, 2/3 of the nation of Israel will perish through all of this. 2/3, that's a lot. Okay? That their heart may faint. Okay? The sword is aimed at your gates, Jerusalem. 2/3 of you are going to die, Jerusalem. Okay? And their ruins shall be multiplied. Okay? Doubled 3 times. The fury and anger is doubled 3 times. That their heart may faint and their ruins be multiplied. Okay? This is, I wouldn't want to wish this on anybody, but that's what's going to happen. Okay? It is made bright, the sword. It is wrapped up for the slaughter. It's ready to go. It's all shiny. It's all sharp. It's wrapped up. It's ready to go. It's wrapped up like, well, I think they would put protective cloth around it to of course put it in a sheath, but protective cloth around it to keep it shiny and sharp. Okay, and take off the sheath, take it out of the sheath, get it out for the slaughter. Okay, and now verse 16, he's actually addressing the sword. Okay, Ezekiel is, or God through Ezekiel is addressing the sword, or the Babylonian nation. Go thee one way or the other, either on the right hand. Take whichever road you want, either the right-hand road, the left-hand road, or either on the right hand or on the left, whithersoever thy face is set. Okay? Wherever you go, doesn't matter where you go, wherever it is, that's where you set your face toward, one toward Jerusalem. Set your face, your slaughtering sword, set it wherever, go there. Okay? Either way, one way or the other. I, God, well, in verse 17, will also smite mine hands together. Okay? And I will cause my fury to rest. Okay? Ezekiel's smiting his hands would kind of signify the start. God smiting his hands will kind of signify the finish. Okay, it's done. Judgment's done. Has there actually been a finish, an ending to God's judgment on earth today? No. It still hasn't finished. So if you will, God has not smote, got, or smitten, whatever. Yeah. He has not clapped his hands together to finish judgment. Okay, that's still coming. There's still a lot of judgment. God is still a lot of patience, a lot of long suffering. Okay, he's still letting a lot of us get away with stuff. Okay, but it will end eventually. Okay, judgment will end. Now, again, with the children of Israel, at this particular time, their temporal judgment will end 70 years. Okay? This particular time of judgment will end in back then with the captivity. So we come down to verse 18. The third word of prophecy. The word of the Lord came unto me again, saying, Also, thou son of man, appoint thee 2 ways. Okay? Take your pick. And he's instructing Ezekiel this, okay, to inform Jerusalem. Okay? There are, if you will, 2 roads to get from Babylon, okay, if you will, from 2 roads, and 2 of them to get from Babylon to Egypt. Remember, at the beginning, Nebuchadnezzar wanted to conquer Egypt, the few years before, and he stopped at Jerusalem because it was in the way. Okay, but there are two ways to get there. Okay, that this appoint thee 2 ways, 2 roads, that the sword of the king of Babylon may come. Whichever one he picks, okay, both twain shall come forth out of one land. Okay? Coming in, it's named here, the sword is named here, the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar. And both of these roads come out of the one land, come out of Babylon, and choose thou a place, choose it at the head of the way to the city. So we've got a choice here. The king of Babylon is going to march upon Judea and also upon the Ammonites. Okay? They're in the way. The Ammonites are in the way. They're just kind of there. And he, the business of any, if you will, emperor of an empire, okay, leader of an empire who wants to build his empire, that's his job, is to conquer all he can. Okay? And destruction is to go not go forth not to Judah only, but also on those neighboring tribes as the Ammonites. The Ammonites are collateral damage. Okay? But the main goal. So he can find a spot there. Verse 19. Okay, again. Mark a spot. Choose a place. Okay. Mark a spot. Find a map. Get a map out. Get your analog GPS out, which is what they would have used in those days. At the head of two roads, okay, one leading to Jerusalem, the other leading to Ammon, okay, and these were the two roads by one or the other of which an invading army would also get to eventually march from Babylon to Egypt. Okay? Nebuchadnezzar still, he still, even though he kind of lost there, he still kind of wants Egypt. Okay? And he's still kind of on the way, but so he's there, and either way, take your pick, mark out this spot. Okay. Both twain shall come forth out of one land, and choose thou a place, choose it at the head of the way to the city. Appoint a way, in verse 20, that the sword may come to Babylon, to Rabbah of the Ammonites, and to Judah in Jerusalem, the defensed. Okay, Jerusalem is defensed. Okay? And the people of Jerusalem are still thinking, oh, we're safe, we're okay, we've got a walled city, we're okay. Okay? And I'm sure the Ammonites don't have a clue what's going on there. I'm sure they know too. Here's the Babylonian Empire, they're right in the way. Okay? For the king of Babylon stood at the parting of the way, at the head of the two ways, to use divination. Ooh. Okay. He's gonna roll the dice. He's gonna choose lots. He's gonna use divination. He made his arrows bright. Okay. Now this is kind of, he consulted with images. He looked in the liver. Ooh. Fun stuff here in verse 21. This kind of interesting stuff here in verse 21. Chaldean king Nebuchadnezzar is depicted standing at the entrance of the Holy Land from the north, meditating his campaign, thinking about where he's going. He's got to plan out his campaign. Which way is he going to send the army? Okay, using rites of divination and he kind of used these rites of divination that belong to the Akkadians. Okay. Anybody hear of any Akkadians lately? There's some. Let's see. Oh, huh? The Akkadians? No. Huh? Yeah. No. There's who was it? The Dwayne Johnson, the Scorpion King, was an Akkadian in the movie. The Rock. Yeah. He was an Akkadian, wasn't he? Yeah, I believe he was. Either that or it was, oh, just a minute. No, it wasn't Conan the Barbarian. He wasn't an Akkadian. He was something else. But yeah. But no, actually here Mr. Barnes of Barnes Notes mentions the Akkadians. Okay? And the king of Babylon is using kind of rites of divination that belonged to the Akkadians. Okay, some of the nations he picked. He liked. Oh, hey, they've got this neat way of divining which way to go. Okay, So I'll use the Akkadian way, and also the Etruscans. Okay, both of them, kind of primitive races, and they originally occupied the plains of Mesopotamia. You know all about that from your social studies or whatever. Anyway, way back when, huh? Yeah. And anyway, the Akkadians, and this kind of shows a characteristic mode of divination in use among two, kind of widely separate nations. Okay, and everybody, all these empires that conquered anybody else, like I said, they would find some neat little something, the way to divine their goals there. And the Romans acquired their divination from the conquered Etruscans. So the Chaldeans acquired the same art from the races whose soil they had occupied as conquerors. Okay? Now, this first one, he made his arrows bright. Okay? That's kind of an interesting one. This was a mode of divination used by the Arabs, Arabians. Usually, you pick 3 arrows. Okay, you put them probably in a quiver. Okay, you write on one of the arrows, "My God orders me," or on the second arrow, "My God forbids me." Okay, remember the Babylonian gods or Arabian gods or whichever god, pick your god. Okay, and your 3 arrows, your third arrow, there was nothing written on it. Okay, God allows it, God forbids it, nothing. Okay, and so they put them in the arrows in probably a quiver of some kind, shake them around, and one of the arrows would fly out. Okay. And that's how you drew your lot. Okay, if you read what says on the arrow, okay, if it says, "Oh, my God orders me," hey, we'll go ahead. We'll go this way. Or "My God forbids me," oh, well, I guess we won't. Okay, or if the blank arrow comes out, well, you put them back in and you try again. You get. It's the same thing as the magic 8 ball. You turn.
Oh, I thought it was the 2 out of 3.
Yeah, 2 out of 3. Yeah, 2 out of 3. So anyway, and well, actually, if the the blank arrow came out a second time, you do it again. You do it again until you get your answer. So we've got that's this idea. He made his arrows bright. Okay, a way of divination, and just a minute. The children of Israel, the priest had the and the thummim. The priests of Israel had the 2. No, I can't. Yeah, I got lost here. No, the and the thummim to cast lots. Huh? Did I get those names right? Huh? Yeah. But they had their way of divination, if you will, casting lots. Okay? The Roman soldiers cast lots for Christ's clothes. Okay? They roll the dice. This is the same kind of thing, rolling the dice, making his arrows bright. And he consulted with images. Okay? That one, you just look at some sort of image and you get a vision maybe, consulting an image, looking at a painting. What is going on back there with you guys? Okay. And he looked in the liver. Okay, now you can guess what that one is. He looked in the liver. It was a practice, both the Greeks and the Romans, and it came from the Etruscans, okay, to take omens from the inspection of entrails. You get somebody's liver, or well, some animal's liver, and you look at the entrails. You disembowel them and you lay out the guts out there, and you look at the livers, and yeah, lunchtime. Let's see, and here we'll quit here in a minute because it's that time, and have a donut after inspecting the livers of animals, offered for sacrifice. Oh, so yeah, so and that's that way you can. So Nebuchadnezzar had all sorts of ways here to pick which road he wants to go down. Okay, and apparently he picked the one to start off with. He's going to go down to Jerusalem. Okay, and at his right hand was the divination for Jerusalem, to appoint captains to open the mouth of in the slaughter, and so to the right hand was Jerusalem. Probably to the left hand was the Ammonites, and guess who got picked for that? And we better cliffhanger it right there with inspecting the livers of sacrificed animals.